and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on MTV that has rolled its ankle again. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge Season 41, Vets and New Threats, Episode 18, The Finals, Part 1. And right at the beginning, I want to give a shout out to the rookies in this final. Jeremy, Cedric, Adrian, and Sydney all came to compete. They look like they belong in the final, and it's unfortunate that it feels like the vets, who have been to a final before, are seemingly holding them back, whether it is a rolled ankle, cramps, or just exhaustion. If I had no context of who was whom and who was the rookie and who was the veterans, I would think that the roles would be reversed. But we'll get into everybody's performance as we go through this review and recap. But for now, let's start off how this episode starts off. And that is all the finalists in a bus driving over to what they assume is their meeting up with TJ. During the bus ride, we get a reflection and recap of everybody's journeys to this point. Hear them talk about the trials and tribulations that they went through, and then talk about their fellow finalists as their competition. Then after hearing from everybody, they are dropped off on the side of the street on a mountainside, confused because TJ is nowhere to be seen. That is when a helicopter lands, they all get inside, and it takes them to the starting line and to TJ, who gives the layout of the final format. TJ tells the players that the final is comprised of multiple checkpoints. Once you complete a checkpoint, you will get a key. The first pair to collect all the keys and open up the chest will become challenge champions and get the #1 grand prize money. Speaking of the money, TJ tells the contestants that third place will earn $25,000, second place will get $50,000, and first place will get $425,000. And the cherry on top of all of that is that it will be a 2-day final and everybody will be tethered together. And really, tethered together is a very loose term, as each pair will be handed a rope and they will have to hold on to that rope as they're running around the Andes Mountains. With the rules laid out, everybody dons their wetsuits for the first checkpoint called River Run. In this checkpoint, everybody will have to get in their kayaks and navigate through a river. During their journey, they're going to have to look to the side of the riverbank to see oddities and memorize in which order they saw everything. Because at the end, they're going to have to put them in order. If they get something out of order, they will get a +2-minute time penalty for everything they get wrong. In the beginning of this checkpoint, you had Turbo and Sydney taking an early lead, followed by Michaela and Cedric, Jeremy and Olivia, and then Theo and Adrian were coming up the rear. However, it didn't stay like that, as you had Michaela and Cedric not flipping over once, but flipping over twice. Theo and Adrian elected to go for speed, and it worked out for them as they got to the other side of the riverbank first. However, it cost them in that they didn't keep their eyes open, they didn't get to see all the oddities, which is the main point of this first checkpoint. So even though they got to the task at checkpoint 1 first, they were confused, their communication was all over the place. The order in which everybody left this first checkpoint, you had Jeremy and Olivia, who had a 4-minute time penalty, was able to leave in first place. Michaela and Cedric, who also had a 4-minute time penalty, was able to leave in second place. Then you had Turbo and Sydney, who had mass amounts of miscommunication to start off this final, got an 8-minute time penalty, but lucky for them, Theo and Adrian dragged their feet just submitting their answers, so even with an 8-minute time penalty, Turbo and Sydney were able to leave in third place, and Theo and Adrian, who was first coming into this checkpoint, is leaving last place. And realistically, they would stay there the entire first day of the final. The running portions in between the checkpoints is where a lot of these teams faced adversity. You had Turbo saying that he was in insane pain due to cramping because of the high altitude. You had Theo just absolutely stopping, and he was just moving at a snail's pace / he just stopped at one point. He had to have a banana for some power boost, but overall, Theo's performance in this final is tragic. Olivia also slowed down her pace to a crawl, and the team that was hindered the most was Michaela and Cedric, with Michaela twisting her ankle not just once, but twice during this run. At one point during this section, they went from second place all the way down to fourth place, but because Theo kept on stopping for a rest over and over again, even with a hurt ankle, Michaela and Cedric were able to recoup third place. We have checkpoint 2 called Rune Memory. The contestants are going to have to correctly match TJ's rune order blindly. This reminds me of like a TikTok video trend where they had like drinks in a box and you had to match them correctly. Turbo and Sydney arrive first, and this is where we see a real breakdown between Sydney and Turbo. Turbo wanted to take complete control of this task. So every time Sydney tried to help or even touched a rune, Turbo would get on her being like, don't touch it, I got this, I'm correct, and Sydney was really put off by this. I will say that Turbo did crush this checkpoint, and they were heading out before anyone showed up. Jeremy and Olivia showed up in second place, and they got it. Michaela and Cedric arrived in third place, got it, and Theo and Adrian showed up in fourth place, got it, and they were off. Checkpoint 3, called Cube Alignment, was a really tough puzzle for a lot of people, except for Sydney and Turbo. They arrived first. Sydney took the lead on this one, as she was able to lock in that it was Sudoku, but with colors. She was able to figure it out really quickly, and they were off before anybody showed up. You had Jeremy and Olivia show up in second place. This one kind of stumped them a couple of times to the point where Michaela and Cedric actually showed up to the checkpoint while Jeremy and Olivia were still there. Theo and Adrian were abysmal on this checkpoint, mainly because they were not working as a team. Because once they arrived at the checkpoint, Theo sat down on the ground and was like, Adrian's got this. She's so capable, and I'm just too tired to do anything. Now, I do want to mention that I understand that this final is tough. I understand that the altitude is taking a toll on everyone. And I understand my position that I'm at home watching this from the comfort of my own home. I am couch quarterback right now watching this final, right? And critiquing how everyone is playing or their performance in the final. But at the same time, you had to get ready for this. You should have been prepared for anything the challenge threw at you. And if you're not willing to go past your comfort zone, if you're not willing to leave everything out there on the field, if you're not willing to give 150% to win, then you're not going to win. Also, in saying that, if this is what your 150% looks like, is just sitting on the ground, not willing to do anything of a puzzle or even get on a Stairmaster to try, then you will not win, and you don't deserve to win, in my opinion. As they timed out, not only did they time out, but Turbo and Sydney arrived for the fourth and final checkpoint here at this section, while Theo and Adrian were still there. Their punishment for timing out is that they had to carry 2 blocks as they did another loop. The fourth checkpoint is called Stairmaster Joust, where teams will go head-to-head in that the last person standing will win it for their team, and they can get into the helicopter, which will take them to their campsite, as well as the fifth and final checkpoint for this part of the final. Turbo and Sydney, who got there first and had a big lead on everyone, now had to sit there waiting for second place, Jeremy and Olivia, to make it to them. Honestly, I'm a little annoyed at these kind of checkpoints in the final. I know that they're trying to make it a lot closer. They don't want a blowout win or a huge lead for one team, but it kind of defeats the point of somebody going there full out. If they are the best team, let them be the best team. Let them just leg it out over everyone else. I get why they did it. I'm not a fan of it though. Eventually, Jeremy and Olivia arrive and all 4 of the players get on the Stairmaster. Once the competition started, Sydney told Turbo to just get off. Turbo's legs had been hurting him. It was around the 2-minute mark that Olivia turned to Jeremy and was like, I'm just gonna save my legs. And so she gets off. It is the best duel that we see in this checkpoint 4 between Jeremy and Sydney, who go for over 8 minutes, but it was Jeremy who accidentally stumbled on one of the steps, had to get down, so Turbo and Sydney were able to leave in first place, get to the campsite first. And I should mention that while Jeremy and Sydney were going for 8 minutes, Michaela and Cedric actually arrived and was able to stretch out, rest for a little bit. Jeremy and Olivia had to compete right away. This is where Jeremy was like, I have to sit out. I just went 8 minutes straight and I can't go again. Michaela, who has a hurt ankle, says that she's not stepping onto the Stairmaster. Cedric and Olivia both got onto their Stairmasters. They went for about 2 minutes when Olivia turned to Jeremy again and was like, I think I should just save my legs. I thought you saved your legs in round 1 against Turbo and Sydney. You didn't save them enough during the 8 minutes that you can't just try to leg this out with Cedric? I guess not, so Olivia just saved her legs again, handing over the win to Cedric and Michaela, who leave for the campsite in second place. It is a while until Theo and Adrian get to checkpoint 4. Theo falls instantly to the ground. He is so tired, and he is adamant he is not getting on this Stairmaster. Adrian's like, should we at least try? This is my first final. I kind of want to do all the checkpoints. And Theo's like, you can do whatever you want, Adrian. I'm just too tired. I can't do anymore. And so it is 2v1. They go for about 5 minutes, and Adrian's like, I'm not going to beat both of them. So she gets off. And so you have Jeremy and Olivia leaving in 3rd place, and Theo and Adrian have a 15-minute time penalty waiting for the helicopter to make its loop back around to pick them up and then take them to the campsite. Once players start to arrive at the campsite, they learn that there is one more checkpoint called Strobe Pond. This checkpoint has one player from each pair don a wetsuit, have to swim in this very cold pond to go across it to retrieve their last key of the day, swim back, and you're done. Turbo and Sydney arrive, knowing that Turbo does not do well in the cold, especially cold water. Sydney gets on the wetsuit, swims, and gets the key. Michaela and Cedric arrive, and Cedric, who is a better swimmer than Michaela, as well as Michaela is injured, dons the wetsuit, swims over, and gets the key, and he is done. Jeremy and Olivia show up. Jeremy dons the wetsuit, goes and gets the key, comes back, and he's done. Theo and Adrian show up to the campsite, and it is an all-out discussion / grandstand by Theo, who is like adamant, I am not going to get the key. Turbo tries to stir up some drama here between Adrian and Theo, with every time Theo's like, Adrian, can you go get the key? I'm not gonna go get it, you go get the key. Turbo's like, Adrian, don't listen to him, don't go and get the key, make him go get the key. Olivia tries to play this like back and forth game of like, Adrian, can you go get the key for Theo and I'll rub your feet and I'll give you a massage? But once Adrian's like, I don't want to do it, I'm really tired, can you go do it? Olivia turns to Theo and is like, just go get the key, just try it, just go and try and get the key. And Theo's just like, no, shut up, I'm not gonna go get the key. And it's in this moment right here that I can tell, matter-of-factly, Theo will not win at least this season of the challenge. And if he makes any other finals in any other season and he has this type of mentality the same way, he'll never win the challenge. Because this was ridiculous. This was so whiny. I get up to Adrian, who reluctantly went to go get the key, because if they didn't get the key, they're probably disqualified and they're getting pulled from the final. But Adrian puts on that wetsuit. Even in the middle of putting on the wetsuit, she feels overwhelmed about how cold she is about to feel, and she starts to get very emotional. But she still gets in that pond. She goes all the way down there, gets the key, comes back, and you know what she says? It wasn't that bad. Everybody gets on their warm clothing, they get by the fire, the sun goes down, and that's when TJ makes a house call. TJ lines everybody up, and he says that there's one more order of business before we get to the overnight portion. He looks at everybody and asks, would anyone like to stake a claim? And he says, you can stake a claim on anyone, meaning that you don't have to stake a claim on a rookie if you're a veteran, or vice versa. If you're a rookie and want to be with another rookie, you can do that. If you're a veteran that wants to go be with another veteran, you can do that too. That gets everybody's thinking in their mind of, what can I do? What can I do? I think the best joke that I've ever heard on this season of the challenge is Theo's confessional being like, oh, what is this? Possibly maybe me and Olivia could partner up with each other and we could win this thing as a couple. It would make challenge history. And I laughed so hard. What in your performance on day one thinks that if you and Olivia were paired up, that somehow something miraculous would happen, that you two would end up winning day two? If I'm Adrian, I'm praying that Theo wants to be paired up with Olivia. Yeah, give me Jeremy as my partner, and Jeremy and Adrian will run laps around everybody. Seriously, I hope all the rookies really think about what they want to do and what's best for how they can win the game. Because I truly believe that if a rookie wants to win this thing, they should pair up with another rookie. I know that Sydney was like, me and Jeremy. What could happen? If Sydney and Jeremy were paired up, they would be done. It would be over. It would be no competition. But Jeremy and Sydney were the engines to their team, and I just feel like they could win if they were paired up together. And I'd say the same thing about Cedric. If he wanted to be paired up with Sydney, I feel like they could be a really good pair as well. I just really hope that everyone really thinks about their options and what's best for them overall, and what's the best move and how they can win the game. I really, truly hope that they're not thinking like, okay, well, what if I quote unquote abandon my partner that I've been with for X amount of days, X amount of weeks to jump ship and go to someone else and hopefully win? What will the fans think, or what will people say on social media? I hope that's not even a factor. I hope that people are just looking and thinking, like, what are my best options to win? And I hope they do it. I'm sad to say that I feel like there's a less than 10% chance that anybody actually stakes this late in the game. I feel like everybody's just going to stick with their own partners and not want to do anything else or do another competition or make anybody mad. I'm going to hold out hope, though, that somebody does take this stake a claim twist. Especially if I'm Adrian, I would want to change it up. But again, I think there's a really small likelihood that anyone actually does stake a claim on anyone else. But that is where we are left with on a cliffhanger before possibly somebody staking a claim, going into the overnight portion and the final portion, which looks to be a race up a mountain, which kind of reminds me of like Season 25's final as well as Season 21's final. Overall, I'm enjoying this final as well as I'm enjoying all the checkpoints. I think that it's well constructed. The only real major hiccup is the checkpoint 4 where you had people having to wait on other teams to do the Stairmaster Joust. Also, I wanted to point out that while TJ was giving the rules and talking about the checkpoints, there are 2 checkpoints that have not been shown at least yet, because when he was going over the initial checkpoints and format, there was a combo lock checkpoint as well as a connect 4 checkpoint that was not shown on day 1. Maybe it could be for day 2, you never know. Again, I like the final so far in the way it was constructed. It kind of reminded me of, again, Season 25, as well as Season 33's final, as it had all the checkpoints in one location, and then everybody had to do loops in between all the checkpoints. The overnight portion looks like Rivals 3. As of right now, it looks like it is Turbo and Sydney's final. They seem to be clearly the best pair, even though they are having some rocky communication as well as their chemistry is not the best during this final, but they're still able to perform at a very high level. They are very talented, they are very smart, and at this point, I feel pretty confident in their abilities to lock in this win, but you never know what could happen. But now I want to turn it over to you. What did you think about part 1 of the final? What did you think about all of the checkpoints from River Run, Rune Memory, Cube Alignment, Stairmaster Joust, and Strobe Pond? Which competitor are you surprised about how well they're doing? Which competitor surprised you in how bad they're doing? After seeing part 1, who do you think has the best chances of winning the final? Let me know anything and everything you feel about this episode down in the comment section below. I want to hear what you have to say. And I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge 41 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, poosh.